My name is Deirdre Ryan. I'm Director of Primary Sources for JSTOR. I first started working with JSTOR back in 2003 as Production Manager of RLUK. RLUK was an African-focused digitization project, which I'll talk about in a minute. My objectives today are to first give you some background about what JSTOR has been doing with archival collections, to review the collections we currently have online, to look at, in particular, a very important collection that I'm very proud of, the Global Plants Initiative, which is also called JSTOR Plant Science, and to talk more about, in the future, what we're planning on doing with primary sources. So since 2004, JSTOR has, you can, I guess, characterize it as experimented with different primary source collections. We've worked with different libraries, museums, and repositories around the world. Most of the projects were pursued based on where the funding was when we were offered grants to do projects. It wasn't a sort of strategic, let's focus on this content or that content. Our goals in working on primary sources include supporting research and new scholarship, helping the community with cost-effective solutions, providing a richer experience for researchers and students by uniting primary and secondary sources, driving discovery and usage of primary sources on our platform, and also providing preservation solutions for content holders. Now, the project I mentioned earlier that Mike had worked on with RLUK, as part of RLUK with JSTOR, was funded by JISC. It's about 26,000 pamphlets from those 7 universities you can see there, listed below. The second collection we have is African Cultural Heritage Sites and Landscapes. This is about 80,000 objects ranging from 3D models to travel accounts to manuscripts, all focused on about 16 heritage sites in Africa. It's a very interesting collection. We worked with a specialist in photogrammetry, Dr. Heinz Ruther from University of Cape Town, to create 3D models, point clouds, and different spatial documentation of heritage sites. Struggles for Freedom in Southern Africa. This collection is about 26,000 objects. We worked with the National Libraries of Mozambique, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe to set up digital labs and to digitize their rich archives on anti-apartheid but also anti-colonial movements. We also worked with archives in Sweden, the UK, the US, Canada, to digitize their relevant archives about the struggles for freedom. The Global Plants Initiative started off as the African Plants Initiative. Basically, it was a project I'll go to the next slide, a project started by Bill Robertson at the Mellon Foundation with Peter Crane, who used to be the head of Kew Gardens and is now the head of the forestry school at Yale, to basically try and solve the problem or help alleviate the issue that African taxonomists and botanists needed to travel to former European colonial repositories to view their type specimens. So does everyone know what a type specimen is? Does anyone? It's basically the original piece of plant that the original piece of plant that was used when you name a new plant species, sorry. Basically, it took off in Africa. Again, this was all funded by the Mellon Foundation. After about 4 years, we had 300,000 type specimens digitized and online. At that point, several herbaria in Brazil, Central America contacted us and contacted Mellon and wanted to expand the project. Mellon agreed, and they created the Latin American Plants Initiative. Over 3-4 years, we digitized about 200,000 type specimens. And after that, it was only natural. We started hearing from Asian herbaria in Nepal, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and now it's called the Global Plants Initiative. So we have over 270 partner institutions. We have 1.7 million objects. It's a very exciting and big project. It's led to a lot of other opportunities for funding from EU and from different biodiversity type foundations. Many of the partners, sort of the herbaria and botanical gardens, had not worked closely together before, so this was an opportunity for them to work together. Basically what we did was Mellon gave money to each of their herbaria to set up a digital lab within their own space. Everything was digitized on site, including sort of small herbaria which had maybe even just 200 type specimens. They would be sent to key partner institutions such as Kew, Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute in Panama, and also New York Botanical Gardens and Missouri to receive 2 weeks of training in digitization and databasing of type specimens and related materials. For some partners who couldn't travel, a team was sent to set up the equipment and help them learn how to digitize and database. The standards that we used were developed by the partners in African Plants Initiative. It's loosely based on what you may know as Darwin Core. It was something that took a long time to agree to. The partners have very strong feelings about it, but we came to something that I think has worked. One of the areas that we've been exploring with them, which we haven't done so much on the other primary source collections, is social media. One of the things we did was send out inexpensive video cameras to 5 partners around the world for them to document and record their work and sort of promote their institution. These have proved wildly popular, more popular than the website. One of the goals in us doing this was to show how interesting and exciting systematics and botany are in terms of collecting plant specimens. If you look at an image of a dried plant specimen from 200 years ago, you don't quite feel the excitement or the passion that the people we work with have for what they do. We talked a lot with the partners at the beginning about how they wanted to comment and annotate the specimens and the other materials as well. About 2 years ago, we integrated Facebook commenting on the website. That was a disaster. Partners were not happy about it, and they just thought, oh, I don't want to see Facebook near my specimen. So we disabled it very quickly, and we actually we started to build our own tool, and then we figured, well, this isn't working. So we used Discus, which some of you might know. It's used on a lot of news sites around the world. And since we've employed it, it's taken off. We get a lot of commenting. We get probably a couple hundred comments a day on the specimens. We do have sort of moderation controls in case anyone goes off the rails or says anything that's not relevant, but that hasn't happened. So it's been very exciting. One of the complications we've had to work on is getting the metadata back to the partners. So say there's a type specimen there and someone says, oh, it's acacia. Another botanist goes up, comments on it, says, no, it's acacia this or acacia that. What we did was we set up a database for it to instantly update our copy of their records and send an email to them for them to approve or disapprove. And then we're setting up web services for them to automatically update their database. It's fairly complicated because we work with institutions ranging from small herbaria in Congo, which has 2 people, to something like Kew Gardens, which is very big and has a lot of resources. So it's been quite a challenge, but it's been exciting for the partners. We have web services. We do cross-linking with multiple biodiversity resources. Our biggest partner and friend is Biodiversity Heritage Library. We also link with GBIF, EOL, Tropicos, the Plant List, and a few others. Working with the partners, with their development people, we've also done other tools that they've asked for, such as crowdsourcing geolocation using Google Maps. We've developed partner pages for each of the institutions. This then links to the content that they hold. This kind of partner page, again, is more appreciated by the smaller partners who might not have a website or even have a web page at this point. We have multiple tools that we've been using. We have tags where you can save, share content. You can email content to teachers or students. We also, this is always the big highlight for the botanists we work with. We have a measurement tool where you can record a measurement from a particular part of the plant specimen. You can also save image regions to use in your own presentation. And we're now working on developing collectors, sort of compilation pages, index pages, and on taxon pages. Just one thing, I've talked mostly about type specimens, but that's the bulk, the collection, about 1.5 million. The rest are range from correspondence from Kew Gardens, sort of the director's correspondence, so letters from Hooker to his contemporaries. We have a lot of hand-drawn maps from like the Zambezi expedition and other botanical explorations. We also have images of live plants that some of our botanists had taken. And we have a lot of watercolors, engravings, and beautiful botanical artwork as well. Plants has been free to all JSTOR participating institutions as well as any nonprofit since we launched in May of 2010. Unfortunately, our funding from Mellon is running out. The program officer we've been working with will be retiring in December 2013, and grants will end at the end of 2014. This has been a very big and important subject that we've been talking to the governing committee with. The governing committee of the Global Plants Initiative is led by Peter Crane, who I mentioned earlier, and has representatives from most of the countries we're working in. We decided in Madrid in April that we would begin to charge non-GPI members on a sliding scale at a reduced starting in 2013, and that the members would contribute some financial amount of money in 2014. One of the things that we're doing to sort of maintain the sustainability is to build out a larger journal collection. So we've been digitizing more of the partners' journals. You know, all these herbarium botanical gardens have a lot of interesting journals. We've been digitizing their back file to add to the collection, and the goal is sort of to help sustain the overall project by revenue from the back file. So, benefits from partnering with JSTOR. We are having a roundtable later today. If you can't make it because it's late in the day, we understand. You can always contact me by email. But basically, we're looking to explore conversations with anyone who's interested about how we can potentially increase impact in terms of discovery, usage on the JSTOR platform. Talk about community problems such as preservation. We archive all our content to tape twice and provide copies to the partners. The partners also have full copies themselves and are free to put it up online or deposit their metadata in GBIF or other areas. We've actually had quite a good number of partners who have lost their data, and we've been able to restore it. And also sort of looking at sort of the videos we've done and the discus commenting, sort of talking about creating a lab space to experiment. You know, primary sources are very I think wonderful place to experiment more, other than sort of other content that we have. And eventually what we want to do is sort of, we have cross-linking now with the back file, which are the journal content, but we're looking to increase more and more content types over the future. So again, thank you for your time. If you're interested in talking about the collections I've discussed, or potentially collaborating, you feel free to email me or talk to me after the session.